My little talk is going to be called The Last Christian Among Muslims. I Had a Personal Dream by John L. DiCasso. This is a real dream that I had. Today is October 13th, 2012. Please don't analyze the dream too closely and tell me how weird I am. I already know how weird I am. So just think about the rest of the content of the movie if you don't mind. Dedication. This is for all Christians who suddenly find themselves living in a country or any part of one that is taken over by a dictatorship consisting of a ruthless minority. It could be a special interest group based on ethnicity, race, atheism, sexuality, violence, religious factions, money lovers, or nationalistic war machine. You now exist in a Jehovah-hating land because you've been taken over. You are the enemy of the people. Don't take it personally. This is a war against the true God. If you are his true follower, take it personally because you represent God. Morality is renamed intolerance and love is called hatred. The good citizen is now the one who hates God's Son and his daddy Jehovah. They tolerate and worship violence, freedom to dictate their own anti-biblical morality, ever-changing laws, equal poverty for all, total government control, endless corruption, terrible police services, and a politically chosen military. Lies, lies, and more lies fill the news media and the re-education camps, schools. The result is fear, injustice, and early death for all. But the collaborators and the elite, they have a very nice life. About my dream, this was a dream, not reality, because the background sounds of the crowds, vehicles, and nature's creatures were totally missing. There were no smells, hunger, or thirst, or any other bodily sensations. My personal dream. I was in a van with my Hindu friend. He was a naturopath and treated all types of people with herbs and the yoga philosophy and its exercise system for total health. He now treated all nationalities, all religions, and the one acceptable religion, Islam. I did leave Christianity for a while to get his Eastern psychological counseling. My public school state university education had confused me with psychology, religion, and philosophy. I no longer knew if reality, wisdom, or God were concrete, beneficial, or an illusion. He told me to stay away from the Bible and Christian sermons because I kept comparing their wisdom with his, and it was interfering with the speed of my recovery from my confusion disease. As he called it, he explained that I must totally immerse myself in the Eastern philosophy of life, which was the truth above all others. I would solve all my problems in combination with his personal counseling. If I must focus my total concentration on this one area and stop scattering it in so many areas. He helped me to realize people wanted to laugh, be comfortable, and love their families. Sometimes they teased each other to make the time at school or work pass more quickly, and I should laugh along with them. This was quite a revelation to me at the time, and it reduced my level of paranoia, but I found it would take many more years to bring it to normal level. My friend was nicknamed Grandi, and we were like father and son. His name was purposely misspelled to remind others of Gandhi, but not to take away the honor from Gandhi's surviving family. He was driving us along with his long and wide, bushy beard, full and white. He looked like an important and wise man. I was a younger passenger who felt out of place with my short brown beard. I was very self-conscious because it was daytime and the streets were crowded with pedestrians in burqas and long male dresses and turbans or scarves. They turned to look inside our vehicle, any vehicle, because they were forever looking for their enemies. I kept my hand on my beard as if stroking it to make it appear longer. As we drove down the street, my Indian friend just looked straight ahead and never joked or laughed with me. I understood that we must not draw attention to ourselves or we would be attacked, interrogated, imprisoned, killed, or even tortured and then killed. Suddenly a man popped out from behind a car with a machine gun and looked at us. Satisfied that we were no threat, he moved back out of the traffic. Granti, with locked eyes and no expression, kept up with the flow of traffic. Then another civilian soldier with a rocket launcher eyed us. But I also looked ahead, seemingly unconcerned and without fear. How many of these spies and watchers did they have? They seemed to be everywhere. How are we still alive? It was only by the grace of God and my fearless former herbalist, Gandhiji, or Grandhiji, I should say. I couldn't wait to get out of his vehicle, but he interrupted my thoughts and said, "Stay calm and ignore it all. They're not looking for us, but an enemy. Remember, we are loving everyone, and there is no fear in love." Finally, the car pulled over to the curb in front of the biggest building. It took up most of the length of the block. Opening the doors of the van felt like what I imagine an astronaut must feel when he opens the airlock from the spacecraft. He floats outside to perform his spacewalk or mission. But should the tether break, he'd float out into space in silence forever. His new environment would be the inhospitable nothingness of this lower heaven without God. There would be no grace or sacred place to put flowers on, and no friend or nurse to hold his hand, as the oxygen was replaced by his own poisonous carbon monoxide. Where did the air go? Where are the stars? Why did I leave the safety of my vehicle? What's that bright light? Now I was in the real world nightmare, or what had become my new life. People were brushing against us, but some moved away suddenly, as if we might have a plague, or we might have offered them a pork chop. Don't smile, I told myself, or I might give both of us away. I had to control my thoughts and keep my eyes on my friend and follow him, because I didn't know where we were going or why. We pushed open the 9-foot-tall blonde doors, and it was huge inside, like Grand Central Station. It even had a wide flaring staircase with marble steps. These Arabs didn't seem poor, and they certainly weren't tent dwellers. Actually, they weren't all Arabs, but every nationality on the face of the earth. It was a modern and beautiful place, contrasted by hostile minds and tensed-up faces. My companion looked at the stairs and said he had to sign some paperwork upstairs, but I was to wait for him right where I was standing. I nervously nodded as he left. People stared, but I tried not to catch anyone's eyes. Then a small mustached man dressed like a European with a fancy vest, pants, and shirt approached me quickly. I tried not to startle or run. He said, "Sir, will you sign our guest book?" My mind said, "No, thank you." But my mouth said, "Yes, sure." I followed him a few yards to the great oval assistance desk with an oak railing. On it was a large guest book with Arabic writing inside. I don't know the Arabic language. I was to copy the strange letters and sign my name. He was very friendly. It was just a courtesy, he said, and I was under no obligation. I've seen a documentary where an Alzheimer's patient is asked to put simple puzzles together and draw shapes to look like a model drawing. Some of the normal-looking patients figured out the simple puzzles, but only with the greatest difficulty. They can never draw even the simplest shape or a face on an analog clock with the correct time. I thought I could draw many of the Arabic letters, but my hand wouldn't write or move. I felt like I was demented or experiencing a stroke. The letters were one on top of another and too difficult to capture. Then I noticed an English phrase on the second line from the bottom. America hater. If I signed it, I'd be hating America. But I didn't care. Shouldn't I care? An American Christian shouldn't betray his land of birth. I felt obliged to obey, to submit. And I'm always an obedient and passive person anyway. I would sign the document, but something or someone wouldn't let me sign it. How could I sign away my confession of freedom to worship and betray the country I loved? I just wanted to please them, maybe to save my own life. I didn't feel scared. I wanted to please him, a stranger. But I couldn't. I looked at him and he encouraged me. This is how you write it. He was a symbol for infinity, an Arabic numeral 8 on his side, but as he drew it on top of another set of Arabic words, I shamefully realized I couldn't do it, because I was too artistically disabled. I looked at the desk man and allowed a little of my frustration and confusion to show. He said, "You don't have to do it, don't worry," as he put the book away and closed it. A clean-shaven younger man, dressed a little less elegantly, but still in Western attire, came up to him quickly and looked at me and the book. He was a little taller and stronger, and he wanted me to follow the rules. He didn't speak at all, perhaps out of respect for the elder gentleman, who now said to me, "It's not necessary, don't worry." I was relieved, but worried about the crowd. I kept my eyes low, only to glance from time to time at the wide and broad set of stairs, looking for my friend. Finally I saw him. His eyes and head were level and straight. He was emotionless the whole time. He said, "I'm finished, let's go." I matched his gait and attitude and walked up to the giant front doors. They opened and we were outside. The sun was hidden now and replaced with low-hanging dark clouds that were only a little higher than the two-story shops. Immediately I saw 6 low-flying black triangular objects flying in military formation. They were blurring and changing shapes at the edges. They flew straight down the street and disappeared into the clouds. Now that I think about it, there wasn't any noise in the objects and the street was eerily quiet. I couldn't understand what they were. A 17 or 18-year-old Middle Eastern tough guy looked at me and sneered, "Those are American stealth bombers." I wondered if they were protecting the Muslims or trying to show off America's strength by boldly flying into their space. I guess America was still alive, but I couldn't rejoice yet. No one liked me here. I was in the wrong country, the wrong world, a post-Orthodox Christian world. Maybe there were other Christians in hiding, but I was here unknown, but in broad daylight. We got into the van, but would we make it back home to this sea of unhappiness filled with deadly sharks? End of the nightmare. Restore us, O God, let your face shine, that we may be saved. O Lord God of hosts, how long will you be angry with your people's prayer? You have fed them with the bread of tears and given them tears to drink in full measure. You make us the scorn of our neighbors. Our enemies laugh among themselves. Restore us, O God of hosts. Let your face shine that we may be saved. Psalms 80, verses 3 to 7, from the New Revised Standard Version. I hope you enjoy listening. May God truly give you peace and bless you.